I was going to begin this video by saying that I was halfway through my 5th year on this Thai adventure, but I reflected on it and I found myself wondering, when did my Thai adventure start? Did it start when I moved over here to live on a long-term basis? Did it start when I stayed here for a year as a test to see whether I could do that? Did it start the year before that when I kind of went around Thailand a bit and just decided to check whether Chiang Mai was the city in Thailand I wanted to live in? Or was it when I was holidaying here on a regular basis? Or did my adventure begin right back in 1999 when I came to Thailand for the very first time? So I haven't actually been able to figure out when the adventure began for me. But nevertheless, here I am, halfway through another year in Thailand. And as is my habit, in episode 26, the halfway mark, I do a little bit of reflection on the journey. It's a privilege living here in Thailand. Every year I go to immigration to extend my visa, and so far the immigration department, on behalf of the Thai people, have said, yes, you can stay another year. And so I've been allowed to live among these wonderful people and in their very beautiful, beautiful land. I do love the food here. There's endless variety of Thai cuisine to explore, and world cuisine when you want it. That's a little more expensive, but when you want it, it's there. Thailand is very convenient here in Chiang Mai. I have everything I need. Food, friends, entertainment, accommodation, it's all here for me and all easily accessible. And I do enjoy peaceful moments here in Thailand as well. Sometimes just having a nice coffee or an iced tea, in my case, on the balcony, or indeed by the river. I've found a number of really nice peaceful spots by the river to just relax, enjoy our cool drink, watch the world go by. Thailand is also very convenient for travelling, and I've taken great advantage of that over my time here. I've travelled to many, many places in Southeast Asia just to explore and see a bit of the world, and it's much easier to do living in Chiang Mai, using as a base for that sort of travel. Particularly over the last couple of years, I've done some extended trips whilst I've been escaping the smoky season here in Chiang Mai. And it was during the recent trip to Vietnam that I was thinking, and I thought, you know, you've actually travelled to nearly all of the countries in Southeast Asia. And I figured out that there were only 3 countries in Southeast Asia that I hadn't been in. So I'm making that a little bit of a goal. I'm planning to have visited every country in Southeast Asia by 2028. So there's something for me to plan for and look forward to. And after that, who knows? The world beckons, and it's much closer with me living here in Thailand. And indeed, even though I've been to a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, there's still lots of those countries for me to explore as well. And many adventures to be had. Of course, there are frustrations. As I mentioned, the smoky season here is quite awful, which is why I try to avoid it. From February to April, not all of that time, but certainly for a month and a half, the air quality here can be quite bad and not good for your health. So that's a very, very big frustration for me. But I try to manage it by travelling. And as I just said, I've over the last couple of years, I've done a couple of really big international trips. And before that, I did some travelling in the south of Thailand. So I'm fortunate enough to be in the position to be retired and have the resources to get out of Chiang Mai when the smoke comes and try and time it so that I'm back when the smoke has gone. Banking also is a frustration for me, and if you watch this channel regularly, you might remember at the beginning of last year, in my smoky season travel, I started having trouble with one of my banks, and I've been studiously not mentioning which bank it was, but the troubles have continued with the old system, and then they transferred me over to a new system because they wanted to change everything. And once again, that meant that I didn't have access to that particular account and the money that was held in that account. Now I have backups in place, but when you have a few systems in place and one goes down, that's one less backup that you've got. And it's very, very frustrating. And it's particularly frustrating because Members Equity Bank was once a really, really good bank that was focused on the needs of its customers. But they got taken over by a middle-sized bank. And since then, they haven't been particularly interested. I mean, for example, when I was back home over Christmas, I called them when it was easy for me to solve problems and explained to them what my problems were going to be. And they told me that, oh, yes, they'd have an easy way for me to transfer over to the new system, and I wouldn't have to call back to Australia and spend lots of money waiting in a queue. But there I did. They changed over the system, and the first thing it wanted to do was send a SMS code to my Australian number. And when I mentioned that to them, they said, oh, call us. So it took me the better part of a month to sort that out. It was a nightmare. And nobody much wanted to be particularly helpful. They had a system in place for people who didn't have phones, but they wouldn't let me use that for some reason. Anyhow, so that's a frustration, and I suspect that once I get back to Australia again, my relationship with that bank may be ceasing, and I'll be finding somebody else, hopefully, that will meet my needs rather than make me meet their needs conveniently. There's always uncertainty around visas and whether you're going to get an extension. And that's a little bit frustrating. Now, mostly that is uncertainty that's borne by expats setting their hair on fire and panicking about every little utterance that a politician makes. So I try and avoid the kind of hysteria about it, but there's always little changes, you know. Sometimes you go and they want this document, and next time you go there's another document, and you know, that's all frustrating and a little bit unsettling when it comes time to renew the visa. So, you know, that's why I use an agent, so that I can get advice on what currently is happening and what they want. But the frustration remains. You're never quite sure what they're going to ask for. But so far, so good. The only problem is that the Thai government is now talking about doing a major overhaul of the visa arrangements in Thailand, and they've already changed the tourist-free period. It was extended to 60 days after COVID, and then they just recently dropped it back to 30 days and reduced the number of nations that could get that. So they are serious about doing something, and they say that they're going to have a major review of the whole visa system, which I don't begrudge them doing. It's been in place for a long time, and it's their country and they can make decisions. So the uncertainty for me is there. I think probably there won't be too many changes to the retirement visa that I'm on, but you never can tell. And one of the things that I do hope out of this review, though, is that when when it is done, there is some clarity around visa arrangements for some time. Now, I did mention expat hysteria just a moment ago when I was talking about visas, and expats can be very frustrating. There are people who live here in Thailand who kind of meld in as seamlessly as you can and live your life here in their culture. There are other expats who just want to tell the Thais that they're completely wrong and they want to behave badly. Some tourists come here and do stupid things they wouldn't even do in their own country, like riding around naked in the back of songthaos and things like that. And it's very, very irritating for the Thais, and it is disrespectful. So it's frustrating for me that I get tarred with that brush by people who don't know me. Once people know me, they realise that I'm not the sort of person who would do that. At least not at the moment. Who knows when I get old and crazy. But not at the moment. Yeah, and that's frustrating. All of the kind of expat hysteria about the government's out to get us, and you know, truth be told, the government, if anything, probably doesn't even think about us terribly much when they're making decisions. Sometimes their decisions have consequences for us around, the taxation arrangements, for example. But they're not trying to get us. They're perfectly happy for us to be here, as long as we respect the country, respect the culture, respect the people, and do our best to fit in and be part of the community. But expats can be very, very frustrating, and I have the greatest of sympathies for Thais who have to put up with us. And another frustration is health insurance. I have to have health insurance for the visa that I've got. But every year, as anybody who has health insurance would know, the price of the health insurance goes up, just for everybody. And for me, as I get older and I reach a new age bracket here and there, it goes up again. So that's frustrating. I don't actually use it. I'm fortunately pretty healthy. And I could probably get a different sort of visa that didn't require me to have health insurance. But, I'm living in a country away from my home country. If something goes wrong, if I get hit by a motorcycle or a tuk-tuk or a car, if I get hit by a bus or a truck, I probably don't need health insurance, but you know what I mean. I think it's best to have it. So even if the health insurance becomes too expensive, I'd be inclined to try and find some way to have health insurance here in any case, just for those very reasons. But the frustration of every year paying out my lump sum of health insurance and knowing full well that I'm probably not going to use it, well, hopefully not going to use it, that's a little bit frustrating. But what will be most frustrating is it becomes so expensive that I can't afford it. And then that will cause me to rethink whether I'm living in Thailand or not. So the ever-increasing cost of health insurance is frustrating in that way. So does all of those frustrations mean that the end is nigh? Well, I hope not. My life here in Thailand is great. For me, it's very relaxing. I spend my days walking and turning everyday missions of shopping or paying bills, getting my money out of the bank, turn those into adventures, a cup of coffee and, just relax, lead a very relaxing lifestyle. And I have some great friends here too, so that's nice. But I have to admit that I have been thinking more and more about what happens if it ends. So I do have resources in Australia, and I'll be able to move back if I have to. If the banking becomes too difficult, if all of my banks start making it difficult for me to access money overseas, or indeed impossible, that might mean that I have to go home. Or if the health insurance becomes difficult to get or expensive to get, or other unforeseen things, then I need to have those backup plans in place, which would allow me to move back to Australia and live my life there. However, for the time being, I'm here, making the most of my retirement in this beautiful environment. I'm still having my morning breakfasts on the balcony, sometimes listening to music and just sometimes listening to the world and watching it. I have plans to visit the rest of Southeast Asia, and as I've said, Thailand is a great place to live, but it's also a great base to travel in Southeast Asia and probably beyond. It makes it much more closer to get to Europe, for example. So all of those things are on the cards, and they're reasons for me to stay. I have 5 years left on my current visa, and plenty of room for passport stamps. So I'm about halfway through, a little bit under halfway through, and a little bit under halfway through my 10-year passport. So, hopefully I'll be here at least to last that out. And that means that the adventure continues for as long as I can, for 52 weeks at a time. So I'm here for the time being and as long as I can. And all that is left to say now is, I will catch you next time. Thank you for joining me on the journey today. I really appreciate your company. If you made it all the way to the end here and aren't a subscriber, you might like to consider subscribing by clicking here. Or if you'd just like to see something else I've made, click down here for something I think you'll like. But if you're really feeling like a binge, you can click down here and that will take you to one of my playlists. Hope to see you on the journey again soon.